there's another club who are looking at a player we've spoken about a little bit here on the channel, Santiago Gimenez. So this piece here says, Liverpool target wanted by Milan. AC Milan are reportedly accelerating their efforts to sign Santiago Gimenez amid links with Liverpool. It is being reported in the Italian press that Milan are looking to replace Olivier Giroud with Gimenez after the former departing for Los Angeles FC. Tutto Sport claims that the new Liverpool head coach Arne Slot has made Feyenoord striker Gimenez a target this summer following his own move from the Eredivisie. It has been previously reported that Milan and Gimenez agents have been discussing a potential move for the £43 million rated striker. So let's wait and see what happens there. Now, there have been plenty of pieces that said that when Arne Slot was initially talking with Liverpool about the idea of becoming the head coach, that in those conversations he did point out and signal out Santiago Gimenez as somebody who he believes is ready for that next step. Other than that, we'll have to wait and see. There was a really good thread from Rory Smith, I believe, of the New York Times. And he wrote this, and I want to just get your thoughts on it. He said, City aren't fighting for a better world. They're fighting for a world in which they and Newcastle and to an extent Chelsea can outspend everybody else by an order of a magnitude. In that world, the Premier League is a much less attractive investment proposition for everybody except nation states. The league, which is already bordering on uncompetitive, is a procession. Europe's leagues are either farms or in most cases wastelands. If they win, that's it for cost controls. That ain't striking a blow for the little guy against the established elite. It's taking the established elite and replacing it with another untouchable one. It's making the little guy even smaller. But that's only half the strategy, I think. The other half is making sure that it doesn't matter if they're innocent or guilty of the 115 charges, because the rules on which those charges are based are at least contested, if not outright abolished. And if City lose, that's all's well, right? And then he said, nope. The fact that the Premier League is at war with its champions illustrates that the uneasy truce which has been made between the biggest league in the world and its clubs has been broken. I'm not sure it can be repaired. That's a problem. And as I said, I'm so happy to see so many fine journalists really start to speak about this. But you know who's missing? You know who hasn't piped up? Mr. Gary Neville. The man who was quite happy to quickly tell Liverpool and Arsenal and other clubs not to be moaning about referees, not to be talking about what steps they might take or what actions they might take, and calling out the clubs, calling out Liverpool, calling out Arsenal, calling out Nottingham Forest, calling out other clubs who are on the end of these disgraceful decisions and telling us all to pipe down and respect officials. Well, where are you now, Gary? Where's your backbone now, mate, when the league is on its knees and Manchester City are trying to hold everyone to ransom? You're very quiet now, Gary. Do you not have a backbone for this? Or are your paymasters not letting you talk about it? But either way, Neville, it's not going unnoticed, because you love to put yourself at the centre of a lot of stuff in football. And to be fair to you, you often talk a lot of sense. When you break down football, I love it. I think you're very good at it. But on this matter, I do find it rather sad that you're not at the forefront of the push to protect the Premier League, the thing that gave you such a great living and career. Where are the people now to stand up and fight for what's right, which is making a show out of Manchester City and making an example out of them for what they're trying to do, destroy the league that they're part of for their own gain, because they don't like the rules. So not only do they not like the rules, they're now going to court to say that they're against fair trade or they're against the laws. All because they can't buy their way to even more success. Now that, Neville, sounds to me like the type of thing that you should probably be a little bit annoyed about, right? So I look forward to seeing you show the same level of anger and upset that you did when you were calling out Liverpool, Manchester City, Gary O'Neill, Nottingham Forest, or anyone that was unhappy about refereeing decisions and spoke about a course of action that we may take. Look forward to hearing what you have to say on this, Gary. The Premier League needs to protect their brand. If they don't, a lot of fans go elsewhere. Yes, exactly. Look, we got to be honest about one thing. Every Premier League club, and I definitely include us in this, is selfish. Because they have to look after their own interests. But we can't forget about the overall good. So fans of smaller clubs in lower leagues will look at the Premier League and go, ha, you're getting a taste of your own medicine. And I respect where they're coming from. But the other 19 clubs in the Premier League do need to look at the bigger picture here. The Premier League is a runaway success of a competition. It's the envy of most of Europe. And the most watched league in the world. And I would say the most competitive. From the point of view of, on any given weekend, you can see a team 16, 17 in the league, beating a team 3rd or 4th in the league. It's a competitive league that you have to be at it each week or you get found out. So yeah, I hope it protects itself because I love what the English Premier League is. I love the sustainability of what they're trying to do to make clubs fiscally responsible. Because, as I've said and warned for many, many, many years, it's all well and good now when these state-owned clubs are interested in football and are interested in PR and are interested in making it look like they want to do the right thing. But what if they get bored or change direction or tact or want to invest elsewhere and lose focus on the football clubs? How do we think that ends up? Because it ends up with them being asset stripped and some of them potentially going to the wall. And none of us want that. Whether you're a United fan, a Liverpool fan, an Everton fan, a Spurs fan, an Arsenal fan. Nobody wants more football clubs going to the wall. So these guardrails have to be put in place. Because football is just becoming a greedy business. A greedy, grubby business. And somebody needs to stand up for the game. The overall good of it and the well-being of the fans, the players. Because they're being overworked. And nobody seems to be able to give a shit. Finally, the PFA are starting to defend their players some more because a lot of them don't want anything to do with this Club World Cup that's coming up. They're not getting anywhere near enough rest and recuperation. And what happens there is the product gets damaged. I keep going back to Champions League final between Inter Milan and Manchester City. Two teams, parking aside the Manchester City financial stuff for a minute, two teams that played exceptional football, got their way to the final, and it was a complete letdown of a final because both teams looked exhausted. So the pinnacle of European football, the occasion that we all work towards to celebrate, didn't live up to the hype. And not because of a lack of effort from either coach or the players, but because they were just exhausted physically and mentally. So we can't just keep rinsing the players for more minutes. Somebody needs to look out for the well-being of them because what you see with American sport, and NFL, let's say, is an example, it's a really intense season. But then they have a nice long recovery season where you've got 5 or 6 months to heal, to let your body recover. We don't have that in football. Football's pretty much non-stop throughout the year. You're lucky if you get 3 or 4 weeks break as a player. So I hope that the greater good is looked at here.